Welcome back, everybody. Today, we actually have a pretty fun episode planned. We actually had one of our members ask us about working with your spouse. So, of course, we were like, absolutely, we will talk about this because we did a podcast episode on it a long time ago. It was episode 4. Don't go back and listen to it. I listened to it today. It was a little cringy. We've gotten much better since then. But we decided to invite Laura Reale, the landscaping business owners and $1 Million Academy marketing coach, to speak with us as well with her husband, because they own Aquareale.
You said it well. Good job.
Okay, I'm like, well, did you just call Aquareale landscaping or Aquareale pond thing?
We're a pond company.
Yeah, I knew you just did ponds, so that's why I stumbled. I'm like, saying landscaping sounds weird.
Just Aquareale.
It's just Aquareale. It's like Madonna, one word, like no last name. Okay, got it.
No, appreciate you guys coming on here today. It's going to be a pretty fun topic. I think we got a lot of years of experience here between all of us, I think, too, when working with one another. So it'll be a good episode.
Yeah, and we're all still married.
How long? I know, right? How long have you guys been working together?
I went to the landscaping business in 2004. So 16 years.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
21.
Woo!
Nice.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, and you guys have made it. One thing I like about you guys is when I have talked to you, you have said that you guys have definite like separation of like church and state. Like this is what you do and this is what I do, and we don't fight about it. Correct. Yeah.
I think that's so important. That's something we didn't really do at the beginning. It was just kind of, hey, I need this done, go do it. And it kind of worked, but kind of caused
but having those upfront expectations, I think is really smart on your guys' part. That way, if something's, you don't expect them to be doing it and they're not, then you don't get mad. So I don't know.
What's good for us is we're very different people. So it's like we naturally go different ways. Like I don't want to set foot outside ever if I can help it.
Okay.
I don't like being inside.
I love shopping and being inside. We're so different. And so that helps because I came from the corporate world. Like, did you come from the corporate world, Katie?
No, I have a forestry and land management background, so I'm also an outdoor person. So
I came from the public relations field where we sat inside. And, Matt and I kind of take our business like we take our lives and our marriage, which is we divide everything between management and labor.
Right.
Right, honey? Which one are you?
Management.
Matt. No, could you talk about that a little further? Because you have told me this before, and I like this as well. You guys are so smart about all this. You can tell that you've got more years on us.
Go ahead, Matt.
It's easier for me to, solve the problem. She's like, hey, I need to get this done. And I'm like, all right, I'll go do it.
Okay.
And I don't ask any other questions other than like, all right, I'll go take care of that task. And it's easy because I'm like, all right, well, she handles the phone call, the setup. All right, I need you to go to these 3 places, drop this off here. And she knows when she hands it to me, it's going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go and do it.
Yeah.
I may moan a little bit about some things, but I'll go get it done. So it just makes it easier. Like, all right, I'll handle taking the trash out at home and fixing this, doing that.
Cat throw up. All matched.
Cat throw up.
All mad.
all the mad. But I know that she's going to take care of like Max's school stuff, the doctor's appointments, anything dealing with schoolwork, the kids, like, and I'll just deal with anything like getting us somewhere safely, taking us here, going grocery shopping, but it works. It works well. Cause I know that like she's behind taking care of that stuff that I really hate doing. I don't like making phone calls. I don't like organizing this. I don't like doing that. She can take care of that stuff. Done deal.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming like then obviously she takes care of all the phone calls in the business and tells you what you need to do out the same way as well.
So obviously we have an office manager that does that, but Laura basically takes care of anything in the office, billing, following up with people to get money from them, setting this up, doing the marketing, making sure there's money. I don't ever have to worry about money. It's always taken care of. I don't know how much I get paid. I don't know where the money goes.
It's not that I don't want to tell him. I even said to him before, I'm like, what if I was cheating you? He's like, well, I got blind trust. I'm like, what if I wasn't paying our mortgage? He's like, so.
Oh, wow.
They haven't come kicked us out yet. So.
But it's like, I said to her, it's like, if I have to worry about 40 things, then I can't worry about making sure, like, here's the thing. She never has to deal with the employees other than a meeting. I have to deal with the latenesses, the not showing up. It's like, what are you going to do? It's like, what am I going to do? I have to pick up the slack and do the work.
Right.
So she doesn't worry about that. I make sure the job gets done. I make sure, it's finished to completion. She takes care of the billing and invoicing and getting it paid. So she doesn't set foot at my shop. It's a dump.
I've never been there.
It's wet. It's kind of grimy. So, and I don't want you there because it is nasty and it's cold. It's a steel building. It's freezing in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So we have the company meetings at our house, actually.
Okay.
That's nice.
I think what really works for us is two things. First of all, we, like he said, we don't get in each other's way and we don't second guess each other.
Ooh, that's important.
If he says something about like the money, he doesn't ever ask me what their money is, what we did with the money, and I never ask him if work is getting done. I just assume it's getting done as it should be. So it's good. We both do our part.
Yeah.
So, but I think the other thing is, I think it would be really hard if two people, like, I don't know how couples do it when they're both landscapers or they're both outdoor people or they're both whatever. If someone doesn't want to be in the office like I do, I could see that being more of a problem for spouses to work together. But I think what worked really, really, really well for us was job descriptions.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we didn't have any of that stuff early on. It was just everybody kind of, like my mom, she's always been the secretary and manager at the office, and my dad always took care of the stuff in the field. And when Katie came in, she kind of stepped in the office and started taking.
Yeah. And I learned right away that I'm not a very good office person. And so that's something that I had to just kind of learn. I'm like, I don't want to answer the phone. I don't take orders well. And so like, I'm not a very good secretary. I kind of have to just like be in charge of me and be the boss of me and the boss of you. But I don't really like it when people are the boss of me very much. And so that was something I had to learn and that we've had to deal with, and it's been okay.
Well, it kind of worked out because at the time we started seeing like how, I shouldn't say how bad things were, but how we weren't making money and we didn't have money in the bank. So Katie was actually able to kind of dive into those numbers and work on that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm good at behind the scenes stuff, like management stuff and, delegating tasks. I'm awesome at coming up with awesome ideas and delegating them to other people.
It's great.
Yeah. I just don't want to do it myself. Yeah. Come on. No. So, but no, I think one of the biggest things that working with a spouse has taught me is to understand people and have patience. Because when I work with other people, I'm always just like, they're annoying and stupid, whatever. But I'm like, okay, Scott's not annoying and he's not stupid. It forced me to realize that some people communicate differently than I do. And some people do things different ways than I do. And that's okay. And so it really makes you look at yourself, and it makes you take next level acceptance of how other people are. Because it's easy when it's outside of your home, it's easy to blame everyone else for being dumb and stupid. But when you have to live with it, you're like, obviously.
And that's, and that's really interesting, because one of the most important things, and I tell people two things. First is respect. You have to have respect for the person. And if you treat the person like shit, it's not going to work. If he yelled at me, I would be out of there so fast, it wouldn't even be funny.
Right.
Or blame me for something that, and the same thing. Like you like working with me, don't you? Don't you? No, I'm kidding.
You do. The answer is yes, Matt.
No, it's easy because she doesn't question, she'll ask me, hey, is this job getting done? Yeah, we should be done another day. So it's like, all right, should I bill? Yeah, you should bill now, because when we're done, we'll just collect the checks. Like, okay. And that's it. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't have to worry about these other things. And it's nice because when I ran this alone, I was a 2-person operation. I was me and a guy, and I got it to a certain level. I could not get any higher than where I was because, I'm working till 6 o'clock. Then I got to come home and do all this other stuff. And then I'm losing this, losing that. So somebody who likes doing that, it was like, it was a good transition, like us working together. Like it's gone nothing but, I'd say it's grown tremendously since she's kind of taken, and people are like, oh, your wife's in charge. Like some people are like, what do you, how do you make that work? I'm like, it works great. Like, this is the best. Like, what do you mean it's the best? I'm like, she's gung ho. She's like, doesn't stop. She just like the hedgehog. She just keeps burrowing ahead. She does not stop. Like if there's an obstacle, she gets around it. She figures it out. Like I hit an obstacle. I'll step back. I'll look at it from different. I'm like, all right, how am I going to deal with? No, she just keeps pounding away until she gets through the wall and then keeps going. You want somebody like that on your side because it's how you're going to grow and how you're going to be successful. I was successful in my own mind, I guess, by myself. But when you want to grow and have a family and make more money, you need somebody who's going to push the boundaries on things and make it happen. And she made this thing. She got us involved in the business group. Like, I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be any part of that. It was difficult, but she's like, we need to do this. We need to have this guy as our coach. We need like things that I would have never, ever done. I'd have been like, nah, people will call. They'll see how good the work is. I'll always have work. I'll always be busy. But that's what people told me years ago. It's like, oh, if you're good at what you do, you'll always have work. Yeah, I guess so. But, sometimes you have lulls and things change. You need somebody that can push it ahead. And she's phenomenal at it. So
I do think what makes a difference too is this is what I do for a living. Like it's what I went to school for is marketing. So it's not, I sometimes I see people are like, well, my wife does it. And like, if he ever like, no, I'm the president. I'm not just, I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, this is literally what I went to school for.
You are a professional. Yes.
Yeah. And that's a huge difference. And the other thing is if I tell him I don't want to do something, but if I find a solution, like an office manager and an answering service, he's like, great. Cause now it works even better. And I'm not cranky.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't like the phones either. Hated the phones.
Yeah, that's something to hire out. And I like, because kind of what you're getting to is one of the things that I think is important too, is you have to check the ego at the door. Okay. Because if you're going to be one of those, like I'm always right. And it's my way or the highway and what I say goes, or one of those people who just blames everyone else. Like if something goes wrong, it's like, oh, it was her fault. She, you cannot have any of that or it's going to be toxic.
But she is always right.
Well, obviously, when it comes to Laura, she's always right. And here I'm right like 99% of the time. But I hate it when you see those people that always just have to blame somebody else. Like, like if a phone number got misplaced or something and it's like, oh, but
we don't ever blame each other. And I think that's like, and if you work like that, I think you're always angry and mad. And I'd be so stressed. Like, I don't want to work like that. Like we really, if one of us loses something or something happens, we're like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What can we do now?
Right.
Like,
what can I do to help you?
It's never him versus I. It's what we can accomplish together.
Yeah. So important.
One thing I'd say too, is like having your spouse helping you is you have somebody you can trust. You can trust that they're going to do for the most part. Like I never had an issue with Katie, but other businesses, maybe it's an issue, but for us, I can trust her completely. Whatever she does, she's going to do it. Her whole heart, it's going to be right. Never going to be issues. And the reason I bring that up is because for a little bit, I worked for like a year for a water restoration company. I got tired of my dad. I was going to go do something else. So I went
back
to that.
When he was just baby. Yeah, you were probably like 20.
Yeah. So for like a year, I went and worked for another company and their office manager was actually stealing money. They found out like it was tens of thousands of dollars. I don't remember exactly, but
I've heard that so many times.
But, they didn't have their spouse in there where Katie or my mom, I didn't have to worry about that. It's one less thing you have to worry about, I guess.
And we've talked about that. And even though I trust our office manager more than anyone in the world, I still handle all the money.
Yeah.
And that's hard. The number one thing. And I'm never going to give that up because that's how I control. I need to see what I have. I need to see where it is. I need to move it around. And I want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And even if you have somebody else doing most of it, you have to have some kind of checks and balances in place because some people that are a one-man show maybe need to get some help. But side note, have checks and balances in place if you are doing that.
But I don't think all spouses can work together, especially if the woman is taking care of children at the same time.
Oh, we had a rough couple years because when I first came into the business, I was pregnant with our oldest and our boys are only 18 months apart. So I had 2 kids in 2 years and was taking them to work. And I was still kind of new to the business. And so Scott was still kind of doing the work all day, come home, then have to work into the night doing estimates and all that. There's like a 2-year block. I can't even really remember it. I just know that it got ugly. There's crying out of me and yelling at him, but we fixed it. So
I worked from home. I've been working from home for 21 years.
Okay.
So when we started, I was working with him, but also doing my own thing with my marketing company. And right away, I went back to work when my kids were 2 weeks and 1 week old.
Yeah, same. Ours were like 4 weeks. So yeah, it was.
You lightweight. No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? God, such a slagger.
So and then we had help. My mom quit her job, moved in with us, and we paid her.
See, that's amazing. See, I had no help. I went back at 4 weeks and just took them with me.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So if you're expecting your wife to be superwoman, take care of 3 kids, answer your phones, do your marketing, and
not real. It's impossible.
No, and then you're just going to get really mad at each other.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel. Sorry, that's our teenage daughter popping into a webinar, that podcast we're doing. Okay.
Well, she's home from college. Good to see her.
She's helping. Yeah. She's home from college. But I think that's, you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't have specific expectations.
Yeah.
And if your expectations aren't reasonable for both of you.
Correct. And then if you do that accidentally, because I don't think that we purposely set ourselves up for failure and craziness, but we did. But then we were able to communicate it to each other in a way that feelings weren't hurt and things weren't mad. But I had to tell Scott, I'm like, we had to have that conversation on how, like, I need you to be more of a dad and not just like a provider. And I need you to not just talk to me like I'm one of the employees. Like, we had to have a little sit down and come to Jesus with this. And then I also cut back my hours at work. I was like, I'm going back crazy, because it was like having little possums hanging off of me all day. Like, I'm trying to work with children physically hanging on me all day. So but we were able to do it in a way that I was not attacking him. I wasn't blaming him. We were able to just talk through it and be like, this is what is happening. We must fix it.
Well, I think the way I kind of looked at it, this is wrong now, I guess, but looking back, but having my mom was always there too. So I was thinking she could step away if she needed to, but it just didn't work out. It was too hard.
Your mom was busy doing her work.
Yeah.
So yes. They thought that we were just in there snacking on cookies and drinking coffee and playing with the children.
Yeah, no. Now, what happened when Rachel was born? What did I do with her?
Wait, what's that, Laura?
What did I used to do when you got home from work?
You just give her an A.
I'd be like, here's the baby. I didn't even give him time to shower.
Oh, wow.
Took her in the shower. She'd go in a little bouncy chair.
Yeah.
So, also, you got to remember too, this is what has made this work, is that I would give her every bit of my time so she could work, because I knew not only was she doing my business work, but she was also doing what she had left in her PR work, and she needed the time. So weekends, Saturday and Sundays, I was taking Rachel, Max, kids, all kinds of places alone. I'm like, they used to go, my mom's, the mall, the park, wherever, to give her time before, after work, weekends. So a lot of my spare time was just time to give her to work alone, so she had the time to get what she could get done without having the distractions of the house. Mm-hmm. That's how it made it work, because I was willing to say, yeah, I don't care, I'll go do that. It's no big deal. I'll go hang out. We'll go do something. And I would whisk them away for 2, 3, 4 hours. And I get home, she's like, oh my God, I got so much work done. I got this done, that done. Like, I could have never produced that much work in 4 hours in an office that she could, but she also would have gone crazy taking them, and it would have made her turn stir. And then she would come on. It's like, it was easier for me to whisk them away and give her the time than it would be to try
That's a great mom.
You have it for 2 hours. And I'm like, no, I'll go for the day. I'll be back after dinner. I'll be back to make dinner, because that's what I usually did.
Yeah. I love this. Laura has told me before that you make dinner and grocery shop. I'm like, what?
I cook at least 4 to 5 nights a week. I make dinner.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
And I rarely make enough for leftovers, because I really don't like leftovers. I like just fresh food every night. Mm-hmm. But it's hard because she's picky, and I got this one likes that one likes. So I'm like a short order cook. Like, I came home at 5. I walked right into the kitchen. The chicken was waiting. I had it out yesterday. I started making it. She comes down at 5 to 6, and it's.
You got a 5:30.
What's that?
5:30. I came down.
Whatever it was. Yeah. It was practically ready to go. I'm like, you see that? You don't have to worry about it. It's going to get made. And I'll say, hey, let's order out tomorrow night. So I'm like, all right, we'll do that. But I know what to do to make sure she has the time, because it's like a machine. If you stop the machine can't produce. It's like, it's like running a machine. You get in a groove. Once you stop, you lose it. So the machine's got to run. And if it stops too many times, it becomes inefficient. So my job is to keep that machine as efficient as possible. And I know what I need to do to make that happen. But I know in return, what's going to come back to me is somebody who's on it, who says, hey, we've got X amount of dollars. You can invest it in this piece of equipment or buy this. We need to do this. Can we hit this next? And she just tells me like, and all right, I got it. I see what we got to do. So it's like, like, I know what and people are like, oh, you really want to do that? Is that how you, it's like, I don't care. Like, I'm extremely easygoing. I'll do, if she says you got to go shovel this at somebody's house, okay, I'll walk up the street and go at somebody's house when she told me to.
Right.
I'll just do it because I know there's a reason behind it. Usually a reason behind it.
That's huge because I don't think most men, I don't know any men that are as involved a father as he is. So that's a really good point. If you're asking your spouse to help take over your business, you better be willing to take over half of the kids' stuff.
Oh, completely.
And Rachel's hair for dance recitals, taking her to recitals, going to girls' birth. Wait, I remember it was like Mommy and Me or whatever. You'd go to Laura had to do work stuff, so I would
call it Daddy and Me.
That's awesome.
I remember Max was little. I ended up taking him for like Dunkin' Donuts with a couple of other ladies at the thing with their kids, and they were playing, and we're just having, drinking coffee and eating donuts. Like, what'd you do? I was like, oh, I went outside. She's like, you did? I'm like, yeah, well, the kids were walking together, so I just followed along.
No, I love it. Because Scott did. He got better over time. Like, I'm not totally throwing him, under the bus or anything. But no, I think I think you hit.
It's not normal. Like,
it's not normal. And I think, Laura, you hit on something good when you're like, oh, I'm such a good mother. But women cannot have so much mom guilt, because I was one of those people who always had a lot of mom guilt. I always felt bad asking for help. Like, I had unrealistic expectations of myself for a very long time. I'm like, I expected myself to be able to handle it and do it all. And then I cracked. So
no one can do everything.
No.
And if you ask someone, so if you're asking your spouse to help take over the business or to do part of the business, you better be willing, like I said, to trade and give them something in return.
Yeah.
I think I remember her saying something like, are you comfortable with this? I said, yeah, I mean, there were, I'd say 6 times she's like, I'm out of here. I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. You don't listen to me, you don't do this. And
once a year.
Well, you have to have one good blow up every now and again.
It's always about employees. All of our blow ups are about firing employees. Every one of our fights.
Yeah.
But Scott, I don't know. Firing people and looking them face to face and saying, you know what? You're no longer needed here. It's very hard.
It is.
I've done it 36 times over the course of the years, and it's like, it's not easy. And
I fire people routinely, and I don't have any problem doing it. Like, I'm maybe a little bit mean.
Well, the hardest one I had was he was one of my best friends. And that was a hard one for me, but
it's like she doesn't have to do that. And she's like, you need to fire this guy. And I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I'm human, and this is a person, and like, I know they need a job. I need a worker, but at the same time, it's like, I know that I need somebody who wants to invest their time in the company. And they're not, it's like almost like saying to them, hey, you know what? It's just not a good fit. They're like, well, what do you mean it's not? It's like, oh, come on, don't just please walk away peacefully. Yeah. You know, it's not a good fit. I know it's not a good fit. I'm willing to give it a try, but it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
But I do it because I have to do it. And she's right. There have been times where I've kept a few people way too long, and it became like.
And then I say it's them or me.
Yeah, it's them or me, and it's like
that's not unreasonable at all.
No,
I was pissed about this guy.
It's not, and I should, but I think at the same time, we need to have a different process when a new person comes on and say, okay, in 2 weeks, we're gonna sit down with Laura and I, and we're gonna see what you did, what you accomplished, and if you followed these, and not putting it like say solely on me at the field to deal with it, but it should come back to the office thing where it's like, okay, look, I'm sorry, you didn't follow the steps. And I'll consider with her and say, you know what? She's right. You didn't follow these steps. And then we can basically work together and let somebody go together rather than me in the shop and waiting for a Friday and me sweating all day and my stomach hurting because I got to let this guy go. And no, tired.
Hard.
I tell my main employee, I'm like, you got to come here with me when I do this guy, because you have problems as well as I do. And we got to stand together, and I'll let the guy go. I'll do all the talking. You just be there with me as support. And I've done it. It has to happen. And I hope it'll happen at some point.
It'll definitely have to happen. Sure. I guess if your worst characteristic is that you have a heart as a business owner, that's not really a bad thing.
I don't.
I don't either.
which is why we get along. So I once said to him, I go, God, I'm bossy. And he's like, no, I like it. It's okay. There
fine.
you go.
Yeah. Well, and you can't have two people that are bossy because it won't work.
Oh.
And it seems like in both of our situations, the females are the bossier of the two. I'm not saying that that's always how it is, but it works for us as well. And because he knows I'm not going to boss him around about things I don't believe in or that are dumb or stupid. I do it because I care, and it's for the business, and it's to better everything.
Well, I think too, a lot of it is how you're brought up. So if you're brought up a certain way and you see things, or you see things that are wrong, you want to improve on it. Because that's kind of somewhat where I was at. My parents were kind of always at each other all the time. And I just grew up like knowing I don't want to be like that. I don't want to have my kids like that. I don't want my wife around like that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just learned from that and kind of just did somewhat the opposite. And I know I go back to it sometimes, but that's just how I grew up. Like my parents.
I got lucky because Matt was he grew up, I think it's a female dominated house, wouldn't you say, with your mom?
Oh, years ago, yeah. My dad would work. He'd come home, he'd fall asleep, and she ran the house. And she was.
Yes,
he did the grocery shopping. He helped with the kids, so it was great because Matt saw that grow, and our son sees it too. He's like, "Well, of course I do the shopping." I'm like, cool. So so I could see it being harder for people that are very traditional.
Sure.
Because if they have this concept of traditional roles where the wife is subservient in a way to the husband, that's going to be a challenge working together.
And that's how he was brought up, with very, very traditional roles. I was as well, but not quite as bad as him.
That's how my grandparents were, my uncle.
So we're breaking those molds right here, right now.
That's what it was. We farmed, and my grandpa would go out, deal with the cattle and the grain and all that stuff. And same thing, my uncle, my dad. That's just how I was raised. But I didn't want to be like that with them all the time. So I just made
we're breaking it now. Well, because we divide and conquer pretty well. Yep. Our kids are on a robotics team, and on the first team that they were on, the coach actually thought we were divorced because they only ever saw one of us at a time. But it's because we had to divide and conquer. We have two kids and two parents, and so I'm like, the one who wasn't there was running the other one around, and so it was a little bit funny. We're like, because they had said that to one of the other people. They're like, no, I think they're just busy.
We're the same. When we were supposed to go to Alaska on a cruise last summer. And when the travel agent was booking the trip, she's like, well, there'll be an adult room and a kid room. I'm like, no, there's a girl's room and a boy's room. Like we do things by sex. And like, that's why I was devastated when our daughter left for college. Cause and he's like, well, you lost yours. I still have mine. I'm like, see, I'm going to nap, so I was like, and so we joke, we have so we each have custody of one kid, exactly like you said.
Yeah.
And I get the couch bed.
When we go away, we stay in this really nice suite in the Adirondacks, and it's a 1-bedroom suite, and Rachel and I sleep in the bedroom.
That is so funny. Well, it's funny that you see that. Well, because we have two boys, and they won't sleep in the same bed together. Like if we're traveling and we don't have our camper, if we have to stay at a hotel. Yeah. So I have to sleep with one of the kids, and he has to sleep with one because
our kids
they won't
are
sleep
also
together.
8 years apart. And they're a boy and a girl. So that's a huge difference. Like she's an adult. She's 18.
Yeah.
Okay. He's 10.
That's weird.
It is really weird to ask a 10-year-old to share a bed with an 18-year-old. So it's, it's, if
True.
we had kids that were 2 years apart, sure, we would put them in the same room too.
No, you wouldn't. They'll kill each other. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
It's nothing but punching, especially if it's boys.
So we just divide by sex, and the same thing. I don't think people really, every once in a while, like Max's Hebrew school teacher last Sunday, he's like, well, I've never met your mom. Because I don't get up. Like, no, I'm usually sleeping on Sunday mornings. And he was picking up our daughter, so I had to get up. And he's like, and it's like December, and he's like, nice to meet you.
That's hilarious. Well, it's fine.
I used to do family time at synagogue. I would do all this shit. She's like, they're like, where's Laura? I'm like, she's doing whatever. I don't know. So hanging out, work, sleeping.
That's awesome.
I liked it though. I enjoy that stuff. It's it's like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to be home, doing work again. I don't want to do work all the time. I want to go do something.
Yeah. That's good. If Laura wants to, no, that's good. No, I think it's great. I really think it's great. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that I always have to, well, not always have to remind myself, but you have to remember that like you love this person. This is your spouse. And so if you need to take a little step back and check yourself, then take a step back and check yourself. I give myself timeouts all the time because I know when I am just being grumpy and just like angry for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm like in midlife. Maybe it's like hormones. I don't know.
That's the same. And I say to him quite often, I say, I'm not mad at you. I'm
Yeah, I'm
mad
just
at the
mad.
situation. And you really
Yes.
have to, because if I got mad at him every day, we wouldn't get anywhere.
Correct.
And I'll tell him over and over that I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at this situation. I'm angry at this person.
That's perfect.
So we respect each other. Like I said, every night he makes dinner, I thank him for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do all the dishes. So, we really
Sure.
try to balance things, but in a way that some other families would see as non-traditional.
Sure.
I think what you just did there is the communication part, just talking to each other. Like, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at whatever the situation, whatever it is. Just communicating that, it goes a long way, because that's something my parents did not do ever.
No, I over communicate. I will show you every feeling and every thought I'm having at every second of the day. So he actually,
He just ignores me, which is the best answer. I always say, you can't argue with crazy.
Right.
So he just agrees with everything I say and then just does whatever he wants, which is like the happy secret of our marriage. Like, he's agreeing.
I have selective hearing.
Right.
You kind of have to.
Yes. Well, he can't ever accuse me of not letting him know what I'm thinking about, because it all comes out. But then he has to know too. But this kind of goes back. You just have to know your spouse and know that person. Like, if this was somebody like just a coworker, they would be like, that girl is nuts. Right. But he's like, no, she's just, having a bad day. She's worked up.
Passionate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm probably annoyed or worked up about something else, but even, and it's just let her go. She'll be fine. She'll come around.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about it like 4 more times.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to talk about it over and over. Like, all right, it's good.
Yes.
So one more time. Like, nah, we're good.
I love it.
What time is it? I gotta.
Yeah, I don't need to hear
I'll
it.
just like fall asleep.
I got a headache. I got
a
to.
question. I'm like, no, we're good. We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it again. Let me show you the numbers. He's like, oh my God. And this will be like 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. And I'm like, want to do a podcast? He's like, no. I can't imagine that everyone doesn't want to work all the time. Because it's the most fun I ever have is working.
See, now you and Scott have something in common. This one will work and work and work and then work some more. Where I peter out, and I think that's why I get a little grumpy, because I can't always keep up, and then I feel bad because I'm a little introvert, and sometimes I just need to go in a quiet room by myself with a book and a dog, and maybe like some TikTok on my phone or something. But I have to go and be quiet elsewhere and not work to let my brain simmer down. So,
see, I can physically work all the time almost. It's when it's when the office work, it's like, oh,
yeah,
I'm gonna do that right now. I don't know, so I kick the can too much on that, but like I will work nonstop outside. Like, oh, I'll go do this, I'll go do that. It's like, hey, you get the energy. It's like, I just enjoy doing it.
Sure.
Keep going and going and going to do it. But
yeah.
And I bring my
computer that's in your
on
house.
Vacation. I bring my computer anywhere we go. And I'm like, and so happy. And even when we're on vacation, he'll take the kids at night to go see something and I'll get my work done.
Yeah.
He's just like, okay, like, who wants to work on vacation? Me. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Hey, but if you love it, you love it. Yeah. See? So I like it. And you know that about each other.
Yeah. I know.
He's calling me crazy. Yeah.
You are crazy.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he loves you for it. And that's what makes it work.
Well, I think this has been a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of great information in here for
hopefully
for
people can get some good nuggets out of it. But mostly, I mean, you have to got to know your spouse. Like you guys said, have your job description.
You have to have a list of response. That's the number one thing I'll tell you. Have a job description, because you have to know what someone is willing or wants to do. And if you ask them to do a task that they're not comfortable with or don't like, it's not going to end well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it may take you some time to figure that out. Because like I said, when I first came into the business, I didn't really know that I was a horrible secretary. But, after doing it for a while, I'm like, oh, I'm really rotten at this. When you come in with this list of things that you need done, I get a little snippy when you're like, oh, here, do this. And I'm like, what if I don't want to? What if I want to work on something else? So, you just have to do but I'm very good at digging through all the numbers and making spreadsheets and picking through things that nobody else wants to pick through. So, because I'll crunch numbers all day long. So.
Yeah. No. You guys have any other tips you'd like to share before we close this up?
Matt's secret, just agree, right?
It does. I think the one tip, and it's not even a tip, it's you personally. You have to be a little more easygoing, and you have to know how to. You have to be able to work with other people, and let other people kind of especially when you're not comfortable with something, let someone else make the calls on that. Like you were saying, Katie, if you're not really good at something, you realize not good at something, it's like, all right, you know what? I'm not good at this, but it's good to know, like, everything I'm not good at, she's phenomenal at. So, I mean, I guess the tip is, I think be easygoing, take it as take it as things come, and like, just kind of like, bounce off, and don't be so reactive at times, or should I say, don't be so like going back and like, no, not this way. Like, all right, let's see how it works out. But, be more easygoing at it. I think that's be easygoing. Cause I think being easygoing, you'll see how things play out. Yeah. And then you can kind of figure out where you belong in the equation.
Oh yeah. I always say there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so like what you're thinking will probably work and what she's thinking will probably work, but just like pick one and work towards
Mine will work better.
Obviously, but pick one and just work. As long as you're working towards the same goal and things are getting done, like it doesn't have to be like, well, I'm right all the time. So,
and that's a huge thing too, because this year, if you add in our PPP money, we hit the $1 million mark.
Woo! Congratulations.
Awesome.
If you add in the PPP money, but still,
that's okay.
Every year we've grown and I want to grow. So if you want to grow, you need to be willing to respect and trust and work together. Otherwise the money. And I think if we lost money every year, we'd probably argue a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, certainly.
Oh, yeah. But I think too, like if you're getting to that point, you feel like you're going to just flip out, take a step back, step away and just say, hey, I need to take a break and just go do something you need, enjoy, whatever it is. But don't let it get to that point. I have one question
for you guys. I have a final question for you. Sorry. So, because we don't separate life and work well, and we're okay with that. Do you guys really, some people say at 6 o'clock, we're done. How about you guys? Do you separate it?
We don't separate it very well either. It's one of those things that we always say we're going to work on, but I kind of like to work as well, maybe not as much as Scott, but I don't mind doing it when I'm excited about it and things are getting done and you're meeting your goals. I kind of like to do it too. So we both kind of have to get a little, we actually even said today, we're like, we are not working on Christmas Day.
We're having a corporate meeting with our office manager because she's Jewish too.
Oh, well, that works out then. No, we said today we're not working Christmas because we very much don't take a lot of time off, but we like doing it. So
we like doing it. And I know when my breaking point is where I need to step back and I need a few hours break.
I mean, I think his breaking point is like maybe a day after I think his breaking point is, but okay, go ahead.
It takes a little longer process maybe.
Yeah, okay. So, but if that works for you, I think that's great. And it seems like you guys really complement each other well. Scott and I are a pretty good complement as well. Not perfect, but the biggest thing I've kind of learned is, like you said, like hire out things that you don't want to do and aren't good at. So,
because it'll just make you miserable. If he made me, first of all, he makes me do anything that's not going to happen. But, if he told me you answer the phone, like you said, I'd be like, screw you. Like you answer the phone, like I'd be out of there. And that's also good because I know I could get a really good job somewhere else.
So there,
and that helps. Like I'm not reliant on him. And I think that helps our relationship because I don't rely, like, we always joke. If I died, like he's screwed. But if he died, I'd get a handyman. And he's like, thanks.
This is why I like talking to you, because that is 100% something that I would say, like completely something I would say. So,
no, I wouldn't be screwed. It would be a totally different setup. It would not be what it is. It would be a lot smaller.
Right.
I would just be more like, I'm not saying a handyman, but I'd be more of the one job guy and that's it. Like I wouldn't be able to have this corporate setup. And I'd be fine with that too.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm like, I'll get back to the way it was. It wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't have as much. I'd have a lot less, and I deal with it. It wouldn't faze me much. But she's right though.
So that's nice. We each have an exit strategy, so we don't feel like we're forced together. You know what I mean? Like if we don't have to be, if it doesn't work, like that's fine. Like I'll easily go back to starting another marketing company in addition to the one I have. So, he knows
start more businesses. Yeah, totally fine. Well, we have common goals. Like, we like our $1 Million Academy that we're working on because we have wanted to travel. Like we don't like grow roots. I just don't grow roots. I want to move like every 3 days and I always want to go places. And so like we both, and he's like along for the ride. He's like, okay, let's get our business completely mobile so we can just kind of travel around. And I'd love to come see you guys in person and do that kind of stuff. So similar goals.
Anytime.
And we're just working for it. Yeah. So. I love it.
An extra bed available in about 3 weeks again.
Awesome. Yes, I will come and visit when she's in college or away at college. Love it.
Nice. So, all right. Well, we appreciate you guys taking the time tonight to talk to us. It's been a lot of fun, and
hopefully people got good tips. I like it.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Laura. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.